Hello, my name is Michael Nunley. I'm the principal at the Greene County Tech Alternative Program. We refer to that as Eagle Academy. This year we've been coming out to Susan Boyd's farm, and the students have participated in equine therapy. We found that to be very beneficial to the students with their social emotional component as well as mental health therapy. And today we've got several guests that are going to be interviewed that are going to discuss that in full with the mental health aspect of equine therapy. Within behaviors with the students, I can see an improvement. This is an incentive. They look forward to coming out here every week, and if they don't get to come, I can see their disappointment, and the behaviors start to die down because they work on a level system to be able to come to the farm and participate. If they don't get to do that, then it's something they work for the next week. So perhaps they didn't achieve the goals that they were working on that week, and they didn't get to come. They'll work on that again for the next time so that they can participate. I have seen a reduction in how much behavior issues that we have. A lot of our disciplines have gone way down, and when we transition students back to the regular school, that's a big factor because it helps them with their maturity levels and as well as behaviors that they might have gotten removed from the regular school system and put into the alternative learning environment. So it helps correct some of those behaviors. We work on those skills as well. Susan has been generous enough to donate a dog to us for our school, and this is the first ever in Greene County Tech to be able to have a dog in the classroom. His name is Abel. He's been to obedience school, and if anything, as a definite reminder that they get to come to the farm weekly, it's because of the interaction with Abel, and he doesn't know that he's not one of the students. I know that we've got a reading program that Susan helped develop, and some of the students that are on that merit level that are the ones that we allow to do those extra incentives. You know, they get to go to the second grade and let those students read to Abel. And Susan's idea on this was that the dog is not going to judge a student whether they can read accurately or not, and Abel just sits there and listens, and it helps build confidence as they try to build their vocabulary and comprehend their reading and all that. This is what it's like. So you have an opportunity in your area within Arkansas. There's got to be somebody local. Just ask around. If you've got neighbors out there that can help provide the assistance like Miss Boyd has done for us. So we have found this equine therapy and the farm to be very beneficial. So contact us if you need more information.
Welcome to the Henry Wrinkles Foundation Animal Assisted Learning and Therapy Center. We have a distinguished panel of people here today that help us with our equine program here. We have Mr. John Harvey. He does our training of our horses, and we'll get into that because we are very particular and focused on safety here for our students. I'm Susan Boyd. I'm just kind of the gopher that goes around and calls people. Larissa Newman from Greene County Tech. Teresa Brown, Greene County Tech.
Roger Barhill from Family Thing.
Ashley Storms, therapist.
And Dennis Mangrum, raise your hand up there, Dennis. He's one of our instructors for our wilderness programs. And Jeremy Woolridge, he is from Families Inc. Okay, today we're going to focus on what effect equine therapy has on mental health of students from Greene County Tech. Greene County Tech brings their alternative classroom children out here once a week. We have a program for them. We do an hour writing class for them. We do equine therapy class, and then we also have a class with Dennis, wilderness survival, wilderness medicine, just neat off-the-wall things, even some life skills, how to check the oil in your car, things like that. So we give them quite a bit, and hopefully they enjoy it. And we'll let each person that's kind of over their program talk about their part, because I think each program is great, because one of our goals is to find that niche that every child can fit in and feel successful and enjoy and have a purpose in it.
So my name is Ashley Storms. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a therapist, mental health therapist. I've been in the mental health game for over 15 years in the school systems. I love teenagers. Call me weird. We all are a little funky and weird out here in some way or another. Equine assisted therapy is unique in its own way, that it takes a 1,200-pound animal and it helps introduce fears, trauma, experiences, all the above with your teenagers, your children, your parents, everything that you can think of. We start each session, we do like a 6-week, 8-week model. And we do safety first of all. You always have to wear a helmet while you're out here. There's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of rumors about equine assisted therapy. You know, oh, kids are out there riding horses. Kids get to do this. Kids get to do that. Well, not out here. Yes, eventually they do get to ride horses and they do get rewarded, but at their utmost safety. That's the most important thing out here. They learn first thing off the bat, closed-toed shoes, helmets. They have to sign releases. They're taught how to protect themselves, be aware of their surroundings. We want them to know that safety is the very most important thing. Now, next, equine assisted therapy is, let me kind of explain for some of you who haven't ever heard of it. It's kind of hard for the therapists. You have to sit back and let them reflect during the session and direct them. But it's amazing because you get to watch them, whether they're hyperactive or they've had sexual trauma or they've had physical trauma or they just act out and they're a total turd. You see amazing connections with these horses and these animals. These animals mirror their activity and their behavior, and you see those children connect with those horses and talk and open up more in the arena than you've ever seen in a 2x10 office. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you see them open up, connect, vocalize, verbalize what's going on. They can tell you how things are happening. For instance, some of the activities that we do are simple, just teamwork. We may build an obstacle course, and they may have to work with their teammate who they absolutely hate in class, and they may have to blindfold their teammate and say, okay, you have to take this big old horse with your teammate and walk them through this obstacle course that you built. It's totally different when you get out there and you're given that goal to achieve and the feelings that they're feeling. And then we process all this. We process all this when we come into this room right here. We give them time to deflect, talk about their anger management skills, their coping skills, what they learned, what they talked about. A lot of times, by the time we get in this room, they're hyped up, they're excited. Oh, we loved it. It was so exciting. Or, man, that was tough. That was hard. I really liked it. Let's not do that one again. Or let's do that one again. It's just it's one of the things that's most effective I've ever seen. Therapy is very selective, and it's either you make it or you don't, and it really works. So that's one of my biggest things, really, is that it's amazing and it works, and it comes from my heart. I love animals, and I love seeing how the horses mirror any animal, really. We've used dogs and goats and chickens. We've used everything out here. It's just awesome.
Retired veteran. I've climbed mountains, skied glaciers, scuba dived, jumped out of planes, anything to get a thrill. And I got hurt a few years back, and that's when I really concentrated on training horses. And that led to a physical therapy friend who said, man, we could use these horses on patients. I never heard about that. And I had a good friend. His granddaughter was born with spina bifida. She had a lot of trouble, and I had a horse that was just absolutely made for therapy. And we used her. We'd take her out, let her ride. And I had an outdoor arena so she could see the birds and the squirrels and the wind and the leaves. And then we'd get her head looking, she'd get her balance. And riding the horse actually helped loosen the bands in her legs. You know, it was amazing. She couldn't walk. And one day we were out there and we cut a stick, because if she had your finger, she could walk. And I thought, well, if I'm crossing a log and I'm about to fall off of it, I can just grab a little twig and it gets my balance back. So we cut a stick. She was holding that, walking. I let go and she just kept going. And that Monday, she walked into the therapist's office with a stick. So what we do is not exactly conventional by any means. When we do get the kids out here, we explain to them what we're going to do. And the best way I found to do this is to get them out of their comfort zone. I try to throw something at them that none of them have ever done before. And then they have to figure out how to do it. One day you'll come out, we may work on rewiring a lamp. The next day we may discuss what do you do in case of some kind of major disaster. Earthquakes, tornadoes, fires, whatever. Where do you find water in your house if there's no electricity? How to cook, how to open cans without a can opener. It's just simple stuff, but it's things that a lot of people don't think of. If we have some, we have a lot of meltdowns, believe it or not. And you can take them over to the heavy bag, and we'll start working it. Some of them don't know how to hit a bag, so we start showing them how to hit the bag. We start discussing it, and they start hitting it right. They get their aggression out, and then they start talking, and the more we talk, the better they feel. It usually takes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most, and we're back in with the group. They're settled down, and they're working. We are kind of strict on them. We've got some that come out, well, I just don't feel like doing this. I feel sick in my stomach. Well, that don't fly. You know, you're going to do the group, you're going to participate. But I'm going to throw up. We'll throw up in the sand. It's easy to clean up, get back in line, get it done. A lot of this is mostly from a military background. We do this a lot. It aggravates them, but then they want to come back the next week. Like Ashley alluded to, if we have two mortal enemies, that's who I like to put together. The more they work together, the better off they'll do. And I'll explain it to them. You know, you may not like this guy, but you may have to work with him. He's got skills you need. You've got skills that they need. Y'all put them together and you can accomplish anything. I really wish we were in person doing this so you could ask questions. It's a lot easier to explain this kind of stuff. Because what we do, to the best of my knowledge, is done nowhere else in the world. You've got certain places that have horses. You've got some that have wilderness. You have some that have little classrooms that they put you in. But no one has what we do here. And the kids seem to really enjoy it. I'm a believer in it. I've seen what it can do. And I really hope y'all can take off with this. And we've got tons of programs written for this stuff already. And Susan has a lot of data already collected. The school's got data, to the best of my knowledge. This system works. You know, it's not 100% foolproof, and we're learning every class. But it is worthwhile.
Something I just wanted to add to what Dennis was saying. These kids really open up once they get out here. I kind of know some of these alternative kids from working with them at the school. all kids, people in general, anger, frustration, behaviors, how we act comes from some kind of underlying emotion. It comes from somewhere. And we all know that our home lives aren't perfect. We know that things are going on. It's amazing to see what happens out there in the arena. That vulnerability, the way that they're talking, the way that they're opening up, these things aren't seen in a regular group space or in a session. It's not. It's amazing to see how they open up and talk and vent and work through it. And if it's not direct, it's indirect. They're processing it, and you can see it. So it's kind of like a two-way mirror. You know, little Timmy may be angry at his mom, and he gets a horse that's working with him and trying him. Well, little Timmy needed that at that time, and so it's trying him, and he needed it. And so as Timmy goes on to school, he's going to think, oh yeah, that horse taught me to do this or that. And some of the things that I just really have, I also just kind of wanted to throw out there is trauma, seeing some of the things that these kids have been through, and they come to school and they have to worry about going home and eating electricity, sexual abuse, physical abuse. They have to worry about everyday life stuff. Their least concern is school, right? So when they come out here, not only is it a release, but they get to process some of that. They get to come in this room, they get to talk about it in their safe space, and they get to talk about it with the animals. The animals bring that out in them.
One of the things that I've noticed about we have all kinds of stories that we could tell. It's just amazing how you finally get. One of my favorites is we had a group out here from families one time, and we had this little boy, and he was 3 or 4 years old. He was a little stinker, and nobody could really do anything with him, and they were planting flowers that day out here. And, of course, there was animals running around, and we had this big goat. And it's been years ago. And each kid had a flower that they had potted, and they were to take and give to someone special. Well, this little boy was walking around with his flower, and, of course, he wasn't paying attention. And we had this goat. And you could see this happening. Things happen out here that you cannot stage. And I'm sitting there watching this, and I thought, this is going to be really interesting. And that goat just walks up to him, looks at him, and then just snaps his flower off and sits there and eats it in front of him. And, and his little eyes get as big as $50, and he just starts screaming. Ah! And he would have these little fits. And so anyway, the therapist brought up, and she told him, Johnny, whatever his name was, she said, now, do you see what happens when you have a fit? And he's like, yeah, to go eat your flower. So, anytime little Johnny started to have a fit, then all you had to say was, Johnny, what happens when you have a fit? And he kind of straightened up, he'd go eat your flower. And it ended it. I mean, just that's something that simple that makes no sense whatsoever. And we see that almost every time you get a group of kids out here, you see something happen that you cannot stage. I mean, just weird things happen. And another thing that's really cool about the animals is they can almost pick, and that's what really started this. Our name of our organization is the Henry Wrinkles Foundation. Well, Henry Wrinkles was a dog, and I picked this dog up out of the shelter. He was a pup, and this dog was so unique, and I mean, you could turn him loose. We've turned him loose in groups of 500 before, and he can pick that one child that is in most need. I mean, he was just phenomenal. And so animals have that sense about them, and they can pick those. And like we've got this one horse that is the most obnoxious horse you have ever met. He's a good horse, but he's very obnoxious. Yeah. And it never fails. The most obnoxious kid will get that horse, and they will end up fighting, and it's the funniest thing. But you know how the horse is. And
he's the best therapy horse.
And he's the best therapy horse you get. I mean, this horse is worth $1 million. He's better than any therapist I have ever seen. He is the most obnoxious thing because he gets right down there on their level. And so now I want to talk about what we do. but I want to talk about the foundation we've put in place to be able to do this, because like we've said, safety is a very important part of because we definitely do not want anyone hurt here, not physically, and because we're here to heal and not add insult to injury. So what we do, I had in my mind how I wanted these horses trained, and I do not have that ability to get there. And then I was very blessed. A gentleman I know that I've tried for several years to come here, and he didn't. And for some reason, he felt led to come here. His name's John Harvey. He's sitting here beside me. He's the most phenomenal horse trainer. I would put him against anybody in the country. I mean, that's just the kind of faith I have in this man. And he has took our horses to a whole new level. And also, with him here, we've realized that there's brains, and John can talk about that. And so we're actually breeding, and we're actually working with an organization in California, a DNA company, and some geneticists. I think their key geneticist teaches at the University of Florida. We're working with them trying to locate these genes that we look for, because there's certain characteristics in a therapy horse that we look for. And I'm going to let John talk about all this, because he's the guru on that.
Thank you for those kind words. Before I would like to actually mention something, and Susan did also. These horses, they're not just our therapy horses, just a bunch of horses that are the same horses. She talked about a horse called Wild Eye. And we'll match these horses up according to the kids. And you can tell if this boy is cocky and forward and got an attitude. So we will purposely put him on a horse that he's going to have to kind of fight with and deal with. And it has a way of humbling him a little bit, kind of letting him know and putting him in his place. And then we can take... Some of these girls have just been so timid, like little mice, and we'll put them on a horse, and you'll see their confidence getting built up. So they truly are affected. And like I said, they're not just a bunch of horses that are all the same. Horses are much like people. They all have different attitudes and different natures and niches. So we'll try to match the horses according to the children. So, like I said, I'm not a therapist, but I see that myself in the kids, the change. But as far as the horses and the safety, and Ashley talked about it, and something I say, Susan can tell you, I say it's safety, safety, safety. Thank the Lord we've never had anybody fall off. We've never had anybody get hurt. But horses are large, powerful animals. You take a 130-pound child, and they're on a 1,000 or 1,100-pound horse. So Susan has like 60 horses, and we will screen them and put them through all different types of strenuous things before they even make this program for a child to be on them loose, riding them. We're very particular here because it is safety, safety, safety. So we might start with 25 horses. And how many therapy horses do we have?
Well, we might have 17, level 1 through 3 right now.
They don't all make it. They don't all have the attitude and the right nature to make that program. So we'll take them, and you have to absolutely be able to handle them all over. Touch every leg, crawl under them, pull their tail, get their ears, absolutely be able to do everything to that horse without them having a reaction, a bad reaction. So we're very particular here. Susan has put me in charge of the training, so they have to go through quite a few things before they'll ever be qualified to ride with the kids. So it's safety, safety, safety.
Well, I've seen some of the videos, and like there's even some where you've thrown firecrackers under them, and they put animals. I've seen the goats ride a horse, just different things to these horses, and they're just perfectly calm while you're doing this. So kind of elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, if I ride a horse, okay, I've been training horses since the early 90s, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know quite a few of them just from experience. Nothing special about myself, but just experience over the years. But the things I do on a horse, the smooth and correct movements, aren't the ones that the kids make. And so the horses we've chose for this, they've got to be very cooperative and very forgiving, because those children, they can't ride like someone that's been training horses for 30 years. And so, like I said, it's a very select group. We're very particular. And when we get a new horse in, we think that will make that program. We'll start putting it through all the stuff. And we've done quite a bit with the horse, and at the last minute, I'll tell Susan, I just don't think this one will make it. I'm not going to put one of those kids on it. So we're very particular about what we do and do not do with the children and the horses, because it's always safety.
I've received a lot of certifications. When this equine therapy first started coming out, I went all over the country and received different certifications and things. And most of the facilities you go to, there's all kinds of certifications for people, but there's really nothing for their horses, and most of them have kind of hideous horses. It's like they're kind of scary. And I know we have OTs and PTs that work here also, and they went down in Florida and received their certifications, and they've talked about some of the experiences, and it's kind of scary to put children on those horses. And so we're very particular. We actually raise horses here. We're actually breeding our own. We prefer our own. And you're looking at 7 years before these horses will even make it into our program, from birth to 7 years. And we have a curriculum that John's developed and worked through, and we start at this age, and this is what we do. And most of our yearling colts will do what most people's 10-year-old horses will do. And if, we pretty well, you can almost start culling them at a year old. And we're getting good enough now. We've weeded out a bunch of our mares. If they were not producing what we call a premium horse, we pull them out of the breeding program and sell them whatever. And so you have to look at that. And so we're breeding for a therapy horse. The characteristics, John, you want to go over the characteristics these horses have to have for a horse, and this is not easy to find.
Well, to start with, they need to be people friendly. They can't show any aggression at all. So that's the first thing. They can't show any aggression. And the second thing, they have to have natural courage, and that's the breeding program. We call it selective breeding. We're building up kind of a group of mares here, that those mares, they have that quality. They have real good what we call brains, and they've had a colt or two that they pass that on to. And so we're building up a group of mares because Susan wants to raise her own therapy horses, and that's truly the only way to do it. And like I said, the qualities are they can't be aggressive, they've got to have low energy, they can't overreact, because you cannot exactly handle every situation. A horse is not a four-wheeler, but we've trained them to the point, and we know their brains, that when something happens, they don't overreact. So, as Susan said, by a yearling, we can tell if they've got any aggression. Probably sooner than that. You can tell if they have natural courage, because we put them through all types of things. And we want low energy. We want them to have very low reaction. And by the time they get, like she said, 6, 7, 8 years old, there's been a lot of time and effort put into that horse that has the natural qualities to start with. Low energy. They're very, they don't have any aggression. They don't react to things. So like I said, we're very particular and very selective here on the horses that we use with the kids.
Some of the things that we want to talk about as far as at the school is the differences we're seeing in the classroom, the differences that our principal's seeing in the office, and things like that. And this program we've been going on for a year and a half, is that right? About a year and a half that we've done the equine therapy. And I've talked to the principal, and we've noticed that there is less, we have much fewer expulsions and fewer suspensions from school, fewer office referrals. And one thing I think the kids take from this program is self-control. They get out here on this horse, and they're going to have to control themselves to stay alive. It's what they're feeling like inside. And so when they do the teamwork in the mental health sessions, it's they're learning how to work together. They're learning how to get along better. This is kind of a reward system for them, to where they have to be at a certain level before they're even allowed to come out here. And so they'll do better. They'll work better, more toward their goals. Make sure they have to have their grades up. They can't have failing grades and come out that week. So it's been a positive impact on them for that. And then You want me to talk about Abel?
Yeah.
Abel's right there. Dog Susan found us a school dog that she rescued. His name's Abel. And he comes to school every day. The kids love him. You know, they're giving that. Kids out there, you can see.
Smile for the camera.
But he's really good, I've noticed, at picking out that kid that's has more of the mental health and emotional problems going on. And he'll sit beside them, and I'll notice, that student might be back there just petting him during class. And that's kind of a calming technique. And he's been good to teach the students responsibility. Because you'll have a few of those new ones that'll come in and might be mean to him, might try to feed him a pencil or something silly like that, because they're not used to, or they haven't been taught to be kind to animals. And the other kids, their defense goes up. They're going to protect him, and he's going to protect them. And it teaches those kids responsibility on how to take care of an animal. He gives them unconditional love. I think that's the biggest thing. So it doesn't matter what they do. If they're in the office for the most hideous thing, he's going to come up there and love on them and wag his tail and lick on them and let them pet him. So that's helped. Larissa, talk about some stuff you saw.
Just in general, being out here and with Abel's been great for our building. I mean, our kids love him. We all love him. We all want him. We want to keep him in our classrooms and shut the door so he doesn't want to escape because he loves his mommy.
Yeah, he's a shadow when it comes to mom. I can't get outside.
Our kids coming out here is excellent. You see, they want to work for it. They want to come here. They want to make sure that they keep their grades up. They're upset if they can't come. We bring kids out here, even if, when they first come to us, we bring them out here so they can see what it's about, so they know what they're working towards, and they know when they come out here, they want to come out here. They want to see everything going on. Some of them may not want to ride horses at first, but we always push them to try it, and usually, they really take to it and they love it. They love Dennis's programs. The last one before school was shut down, I think was when you were teaching them how to start fires.
Yeah.
That was very fun.
At school.
That was very entertaining, but it was a safety skills. It was safety skills. It was life skills, but I have a lot of videos from it, and they really, they came to life. A lot of these kids, some of them, live outside of town and they're in the woods and they're able to, do things on their own. A lot of them do not, and they've never had that opportunity. They've never lived somewhere where they can have these skills or need these skills. But it's really eye-opening for them. You see that they really open up. They love the horses. They love the group activities. I think the group activity that day, or maybe the week before that, was they had to each be a part of a body. So if there were 3 or 4 of them, they had to, one of them was the brain, one was the right arm, one was the left arm, then one. Yes. So they have to learn to trust each other. And it's great to put kids together who think they really don't like anybody. Because one of my biggest mottos in class is, you're going to encounter people that you don't like all throughout your life. You have to learn how to work with other people.
Once students reach a certain level, they're trained to go in with it's Read to Able program with the 2nd grade. So they go into a 2nd grade classroom, and it's giving them the opportunity to take a leadership role, to be a positive influence on younger students. They have to discipline Abel. They have to make sure he's sitting there. He lays on his mat, and the students will read to him individually usually. And so it's teaching them discipline while they're teaching Abel discipline. And so that's passing on positive skills that we want our students to have.
Yeah, well, we also have a literacy program we're putting together. It's called Henry and Friends Barnyard Adventures. And we have there's just a lot of strange people and animals and everything out here. This is just a strange kind of place. It's kind of like something out of a movie or something. But we have a lot of neat animals. We have pigs, we have goats, we have a 2.5-ton steer that hangs out. But we kind of keep him away from everybody because I'm afraid he might step on someone, and he moves really slow, and I'm afraid by the time you got your foot out from under him, there wouldn't be much left. Let's see, there's some chickens running around. Anyway, what we do is we write books. Actually, Henry writes the books, and they're just about things that take place. The animals inspire them, and there's always a moral part of the book, and it's really a neat program, and we're getting close to getting it completed. This COVID thing kind of knocked it in the head, kind of slowed it down a little bit. We utilize the books are written from the animal's perspective. The photos that we use to illustrate the book are actually the animal photos. Like one time we wrote about, I don't remember what it was about. It was something about eating, and we had this table set up, and I had little pigs set up at the table, and they had plates, and they were eating, and Henry was eating, everybody was sitting at the table eating. And, you know, things like that. That was Stanley and Oliver when they were little. And Abel, we wrote a book about Abel's life story of how he comes to us, and it's called I Am Abel. And you can go to Amazon.com and buy it. You know, one of our goals is to help. We want all kids, to be successful in education and in their life. We want to, and that's what's neat here is the people here have a passion for those kids. And our theory is put the money and the effort in them on the front end so you don't have to on the back end. And to help those kids grow up and have a decent life where they can function and have relationships and just not be a total disaster.
My name is Jeremy Wooldridge. I'm a supervisor for Families Inc., and we are a mental health provider for Greene County Tech. And, you know, Greene County Tech, along with Ms. Susan, has been extremely proactive in putting forth the needs of mental health in their students and making sure that that's a front runner, that's just as important as everything else that they're trying to do. And kind of like we were talking about, we provide services for each building at Greene County Tech, all age groups, but we also provide services in the alternative classrooms as well, and that's a building and a program in itself. And really, kind of just to go back over what everyone else has said, you know, animals mirror kind of your personalities. These horses mirror the personality of the students, and they provide that unconditional support and love, which is exactly what all kids need and really all adults need. Everyone needs the acceptance and needs to be able to function kind of at their highest level. That's going to be different for each student, and that's kind of the uniqueness of this program. And the horses and things that Ms. Susan has, they are able to match those horses with each of the different kids, and we're able to, you know, kind of help implement and use some of those in their treatment as well. Kind of the support and the unconditional love, you know, a lot of these kids that find themselves in alternative school, there's a reason they couldn't function in the normal classroom. You know, there are issues that are going on either at home, you know, kind of like Ashley said. Everyone has environmental stressors that kind of make them who they are. And you put a kid that's already in an alternative setting, in an unpredictable setting out here, and that's something that you can't imitate in an office setting or in a classroom. They have to learn to deal with the loss of control. They have to learn to deal, you know, with the unexpected, things that have probably been a struggle for them in the past, and that's why they have been placed in an alternative setting. So when they learn to put those skills into place in their life and not just implement them here, you know, they're hopefully able to overcome some of those issues that caused them to be in alternative education, get them back into the normal classroom setting, which is the goal, to then graduate and be a productive member of society.
But also another thing we're doing with those kids, and we only got to do it once because of the COVID thing, but we have what we call taking the animals
To the
nursing homes. And so we take the alternative kids, they go with us, and we meet like at one of the local nursing homes here, and we have miniature animals that we take. We have a little pig, he rides in the wagon, and they can pet him. His name is Albert Einstein. We have a little mini horse. Dennis has Lightning.
Yeah, Grant.
Yeah, and he goes with us sometimes, and then we have one, and his name is Max. And then we take Abel. Then we have a little goat named Rigby, and we take those, and the kids come, and they help corral the animals and make sure the animals don't knock people over and whatever, and they can pet those, and they seem to really enjoy it. Plus, it's allowing those kids to develop empathy, you know, and maybe they don't have that at home. That maybe there's no kindness showed at home. And so they're seeing that, hey, I can go out, and I think it's addictive. I mean, it's a positive addiction, and instead of being greedy and take, you start giving, and you see it makes you feel good. And when you're a taker, it doesn't make you feel really good. It makes you angry and mad, and you because you I don't know, you just have a bad attitude. But if you learn to be a giver, then you become a great person, and that's our goal for these kids.
I think it helps to do conversations where they
Yeah.
sit down at the table, they talk with the elderly men and women, and that helps them build those conversation skills with different age groups.
And you're crossing barriers there because people that basically live their life, and some of those people have interesting stories to tell because they've got a lifetime of stories to tell.
Yeah. The teenagers don't have to be so cool out here.
Right.
You have all those boys, 16-year-olds, who have to be so tough and bad at school, and then they get out here, and of course you have mouthy kids, but they get out here and they kind of drop their cool little, and it's really interesting to see. It's real funny.
A lot of that, I believe, is because you got them out of their comfort zone and they don't know how to handle it.
Exactly, it's that vulnerability.
Great to watch.
Right.
Yeah, it is great to watch. Like Dennis said, it's great to watch.
And that horse doesn't really care how cool you think you are. He sees the real you. So it's like, you're just a little twerp and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well, some of the life skills we teach out here, you got all these boys, I'm hard, I'm older, man, I do this, right? You got a little 90-pound girl over here showing them how to do this because they can't figure it out. And it's great. And it takes the wind out of themselves.
Yeah.
And they look at her with a whole different attitude.
That's true.
Than they normally do.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm the man and you're the woman. It's like, well, okay, maybe you need to teach me what I don't know.
I don't know how much more I can add, but I've worked a couple other programs. I know this works. I've never worked for Susan. I've always heard great things, but it just never happened for whatever reason. But I've worked at a couple other different barns for 2 years each, and I can tell you it definitely works. And you can gather from your clients in the barn, in the arena, way more than you can just sitting in a climate controlled office. Many times, they're asked to perform tasks with the horse, to communicate with the horse, to interact with the horse, and perform different things, and they have to be able to do that. And you can watch them and see how they interact and how they communicate, and point that out. If they're doing something wrong, you can ask them, well, why do you think the horse is acting this way when you do whatever? Why do you think the horse is pawing at the ground right now or walking away? You can use it as a tool, and that's what the horses are. They're a tool. The arena is a tool, and all the props, those are tools. It's not much different from play therapy, I think. You're just using all these different resources, and with the AP, you teach kids that they have resources. And, they have people they can talk to, and different things they can use. One of the activities we did was it's called Build Your House, and the kids would we'd set it up and say you can use any of these objects in the arena. We'd have pool noodles and ropes and stuff like that, pipe. You can use any of those objects in the arena. You can use your buddies over here. They're standing in the group. And we'd say, okay, you get this no-touch obstacle course. You got to get them through the obstacle course without touching the horse or coaxing it. And sometimes they'd get out there and they'd struggle, and we'd say, well, what do you got? What's your resource? And they'd get a pipe, a PVC pipe, and they'd pick it up and they'd try to move it around. And by the end of the activity, they were using all their resources to build a fence, and then they'd use their buddies, like holding hands together in a line, and just drive the horse straight through the obstacle course, which was cool to see, because some of those kids didn't like each other, like you said, But they were working together. I think it encourages that. It encourages the kids to work together and problem solve and think creatively, think outside the box, And it does build self-esteem. You're working with a huge animal. If you can control that animal, then you feel powerful yourself, But I've seen it work, and I think it's a great thing.
We learned a lot about our kids through this program. We learned, they're maybe somebody totally different when they're in the classroom than when they come out here. We learn who our leaders are. We learn who our followers are. We learn who is a good team member or someone who can work with others. We learn that those timid kids in class can come out of their shell and do good work, and they may be the leaders when they get out here, and they may explain things better than other kids who think they can explain things, and some kids are yelling at everybody how to do things, and then you've got the doers that come in and get it done, and just kind of block that person out that's yelling and tell him to get over here in line and do what needs to be done to help the team. When the kids go to the elementary to read to the younger kids, or to have the kids read to Abel, they enjoy that. They take that responsibility, and it's really good for those other teachers in the district to see our kids, doing good things for other classes, because we're the alternative school. We are the redheaded stepchild of the district. We are, that's where the bad kids go. It's really good for those other teachers who have no idea what things are like in an alternative school. It's really good for them to see these are good kids. They just needed a chance. And that's, I love our kids. I taught in a regular school for my first year, and it is entirely different. The past 7 years I've been in the alternative school. I don't want to be in any other setting. It may be the most difficult of days, but it may be the best day.
One thing I've noticed out here is you get kids in, and some of them are just so walled up, they're never going to talk till you get them doing something different. Once you get them busy doing this, you'll come over and you just start talking to them. Next thing you know, they're telling you their life story. This is what's going on here and there. And I don't know why it works, but it does.
We would, in structuring activities and things, and sometimes things, you set a goal for the activity, and then you may not reach that goal because something else may come up. It's spontaneous, I noticed that about it, and I think that's a cool thing about it too. You kind of let things go the direction they naturally flow,
You have to be flexible.
You have to be flexible, exactly.
We've seen that a lot. Definitely. You would come in we might set up an activity and thinking, oh, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. Surprise, surprise. No, it didn't go that way. And the total
That's life.
different outcome come out of it, but it's probably what you needed to address because you're not in the mind of those kids. And
very metaphorical, a lot of these things that you can.
I believe it's the mood of the group.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I don't even know what I'm going to do till we get out here and we see what the mood of the group is. And then that's where you kind of base it. Okay, I've got these and these we can do. You've always got A, B, C, and D plans. You never just set it in stone. Because you may come out one day and all of a sudden there's been a big blow up, and that's got to be lined out before you do anything else. So this has got to be a fluid. It's just a fluid situation anytime they come out here, but it's always a good time.
The road to success is not a straight line.
And I think kids see the consequences immediately of their actions and how they interact with the horse. The horse doesn't. It's gonna react immediately. It's not gonna walk off and be mad and hold a grudge. It's gonna show you right then how it feels. A lot of kids get to see that. They get to see the consequences of their communication, their behaviors, and their attitudes, and all that. It's like Jeremy said. They mirror our feelings and our actions, and we see that in real time.
A lot of it is they can see their success right then.
Right.
It's immediate. It's not, 6 months down the road, I'm going to know if I pass this or that. It's like, I built a fire right here with nothing. Or, I fixed this flapper valve or something like that. And it's instant. Because a lot of kids look at that and go, I do this. So it's simple. And then you just discuss it, show them how to do it, let them do it. Well, I'm not going to do this today. I can't do this. I'm frustrated.
And then they help each other.
And then that's when you call over. Another one will come over, and next thing you know, they've got it done, and they're working as a team. and they're talking to you at the same time.
I think a lot of these kids also feel like that people have a preconceived notion about them before they get here because they're in an alternative program, and the beauty of interacting either with Abel in the classroom or these horses is, it's unconditional. It's non-judgmental. What takes them months to build a rapport with a teacher or with a therapist, they can build a rapport with an animal during one session and know that that animal accepts them for who they are, regardless of what they've done to get themselves into an alternative placement, what they've done at home. And, there's just that instant, like you said, kind of gratification to see that you've made progress today. It didn't take months to make progress, and this animal doesn't care what I did to get here or why I've acted the way I've acted. They're willing to work with me, and they're willing to accept me for who I am, and we can make that progress together. I think that's powerful.
That's a good point. We get so many kids in our program. They're all good kids, but you get some that, they're the model student. They've done great. They hit 9th grade, 10th grade, get caught. They're doing something that most of the other kids have already done and didn't get caught. Well, they get caught. They get sent to alternative school, and they've lost all self-esteem. They feel beat up. They're beating up themselves. A lot of times they're getting mentally beat up at home because the parents naturally are going to be frustrated and angry because they've done something they shouldn't have done. And then you get them out in a situation like this where they can be successful and they can take pride in themselves again. It builds that self-confidence, and you see a whole different child.
About every child comes out here bonds with a certain animal. They'll get off of that bus, and the minute they hit this place, they scatter. Some grab dogs, some grab cats, some go to horses. But they all go to an animal. Or they'll come over and say, "Hey, Mr. Dennis, we did this today, or we did that." And I'm like, "Cool," And they'll start talking to you. And it usually takes, just from my observation, usually by the third time they're coming out here, they're opening up. It may just be a little crack in the door, but they're opening up. And it just expands from there.
And then they're talking about it for the next week before they get to come back. And they're just little things here and there, and then they get to where they can't stop talking about it because they're so excited.
It's funny because if Dennis gives a homework assignment the day before we come back out here the next week, they're all busting it, trying to hurry up and get it done. I don't want to disappoint him. I want to make sure that they've got done what he's asked them to do. So it's definitely a positive influence on the kids.
Absolutely, and restores hope for a lot of these kids. That's kind of the preface of what we're doing with a lot of these kids in mental health. They've lost hope. They've lost the faith in people that are supposed to be caring for them. They've lost confidence in the school system, and they've lost hope in things ever getting better. And you bring them to a situation like this, and they learn to adapt and overcome because everything changes. Throughout the program, everything changes, on a day-to-day basis when they're here. And they know that if they can implement what they learn here in the classroom and have a good week, that they're going to get to come back the next week. So they get that hope of some sort of reward. And that's huge for a lot of these kids.
They get immediate rewards, immediate satisfaction, and immediate love and unconditional love from the animals out here. I know that we all that work in our setting. I know we tell our kids we love them. I know we love our kids. I know we love what we do, and it doesn't matter how we sit here and tell our kids that we love them, and they're so mad when they first come into our program just because they have to be there. And one of the things we tell them a lot is, "We know you're mad, but you're gonna love it here," and they do. It may take them a few weeks, it may take them a few months, but they love it here. But when they come out here for the first time, it's immediate. It takes them a while to trust us. You don't have that with an animal. They know that love is there.